Sure, I'm Christian, but I never really understood what that meant. So as I grew up in my like high school years and things like that, I came upon the decision that I could be spiritual and things like that, but a belief in a so-called God wasn't exactly necessary.
So basically, being atheist is. Describe that to me. I mean, explain to me what does it mean to be atheist?
Well, I think an exact definition. It's hard to
Or
define in such
close,
terms.
as close as you can
Sure.
can get to.
I mean, not believing in God, sure, is what most people would define as atheism.
So the absence of God.
The absence
Now,
of God.
would you say that it would it be safe to say then that you have an absence of God in your life?
Sure.
No God. So then what replaces God in your life?
Well, I don't really think that there needs to be a replacement.
So there is no replacement. Okay. So do you ever find yourself saying, "Oh my God"?
Oh, sure, all the time. I mean, it's a pretty colloquial term, and I have no issues discussing God with anyone or being friends with religious people or anything like that. But I think the institutions of religion and God can be separated. But okay. But God isn't necessarily, a figurehead for those religions. That it's a very abstract notion. To believe in God is just as far abstract as I can fathom. And people set up these systems of religion in order to explain the unexplainable, or to set up a system of morals, really, kind of create a moral code.
So what do you use as your moral code? Do you have a moral code?
Well, sure. I think everyone does, whether they have religion or not.
What is the basis of your moral code? Is it your conscience? Do you believe that you have a conscience?
Sure. I believe in having a conscience, and
is that the fear, that rebel fear that you talk about?
I don't know. I think everyone inside of them, and we could use even Freudian terms, which removes God from conscience, having the self and then the id and the superegos. This id, who is like your child inside, that just needs me, and then the superego, who thinks in terms of the American me individualist, or the superego, who thinks in terms of community and how am I going to affect someone else. What are the morals of society?
So are you closer? Do you feel like you're closer to your superego, or that child that's in you?
I mean, it definitely depends on the situation.
So it varies?
Yeah, sure. But I'd like to think that I'm...
Now, do you think that you could be in a situation, in a given situation, and you go from perhaps that child to the superego?
Sure.
Within a situation where you start off with the child, perhaps,
yeah.
and then you jump into the superego?
Yeah, I think that's, more than plausible to think that someone can have an immediate reaction, which is more childlike, and thinks of the self and the needs of, or even just wants. It doesn't necessarily need, but just wants something, rather than